G'day, this is Pete from Tasmanian Bus Journeys, and on this YouTube it's a very special edition. It's the Great Tasmanian Bus Journey volume number 1. Yep, that's the long journey from Hobart, Launceston, Devonport, Burnie to Stanley. It's the journey you can do in one day, catching 4 different buses. It all works rather nicely. You get to see the whole state, and it's very fantastic. I will show you in great detail which services to get, where to get them, and a little bit of information about the terrain and townships you pass. Now, it is edited highlights of my 4 previous videos on those route segments. So if you've looked at them carefully, you'll notice that we have put some of the same material again, but it is a very useful recap on a marvellous journey. A marvellous journey I have done myself, going up from Hobart to Stanley and under It is absolutely great, highly recommended. So here we go. We leave from Hobart. Actually, we leave 6 o'clock in the morning for everything to work. We go to Launceston, we change buses at Launceston, and then we head through to Devonport. Now at Devonport, we change buses again. We get on a local express service which goes to Burnie, and finally, after a nice period of time for luncheon, we go from Burnie finally to Stanley. Now, what is this journey, you might say? Well, it's a 433 kilometre journey. It is a good one, and if you were just sitting on the bus, it would take you 6 hours and 23 minutes. You don't have to drive. There we go, average speed of 68 kilometres per hour. However, with the transfer time and the lunch times and all, that's like 10.5-hour day, and that makes it all the more civilised. We start in Hobart. You will have to depart Hobart on the 6 a.m. service in the morning. We're showing here the 10 a.m. service. First of all, where do you get on this bus? Well, you get on at the Hobart Transit Centre. Now that's at 230 Liverpool Street, but that's not in the middle of the city. In fact, if you want to walk from the middle of the city, it's about an 850 metre walk or 12 minutes. You might consider getting a taxi, but it's not that far. Now on the way, near the Hobart Transit Centre, there are toilets at Centre Point Shopping Centre, and inside the transit centre, the bus operator recommends you show up 20 minutes before departure. I believe that 10-15 minutes would be enough, but you do have to have bookings on most services because these buses are extremely well loaded. There are premier services here in Tasmania. They've got a toilet on board and lots of room for luggage. Now, after winding through the city, let's have a look at the route. Yes, we go through the Midlands, through Kempton, Oatlands, Ross, Campbelltown and to Launceston. Now, if you're travelling to the towns on the way between Hobart and Launceston, please do book. You have to book so the bus goes via these towns. 101 kilometre trip, and takes 2 hours and 45 minutes approximately. It varies. If you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to Tasmanian Bus Journeys and giving me a like. That'd be beautiful. I'd really appreciate it. So we travel up the Brook Highway. We can see views of the beautiful Derwent River as we leave Hobart, but soon we do hit the Midlands itself. It's a fairly flat place, but it's always interesting. There's always seems to be some roadworks going on as you go on the Midland Highway. Now the first place we encounter of note is 80 kilometres out, and that is Oatlands. Oatlands is pure history. I love it. They had big plans for Oatlands in its day. Never quite realised that, but geez, they've left some beautiful historical buildings, and it is such a wonderful place to walk around. Living life, living history. The Oatlands Flour Mill, constructed sometime around 1836. We leave Oatlands and have a look at Lake Ulverstone. Wow, it's all happening. 50 kilometres up the road, we come to the township of Ross, another delightful historic town. And here we can see the very famous Ross Bridge. It was built in 1836. It's a place I like to just sit and think about life for a minute or two. But wandering around Ross itself is really nice. There's plenty of shops and places to have lunch at. And here we can see the previous operator of the intercity service. That was Red Line, and you see the bus in the Red Line coaches livery, a bit different to what it is nowadays because the bus is now operated by Kinetic. If you want to get to Ross, you have to book. It won't go there automatically. 10 kilometres up the road we have Campbelltown, across the Elizabeth River on the famous Red Bridge, which was constructed in about 1838. Campbelltown is a place you don't have to book for because every bus service goes through Campbelltown. Then it's another 70 kilometres and we reach Launceston, Tasmania's second biggest city. Now this has a temporary terminus. This is the spot you have to get off the bus arriving in Launceston and get on the bus going to Devonport. Quite often it is actually the same bus, so it's quite easy. It's a pretty interesting place, and here is the Launceston Post Office with its amazing tower. A bit further, Launceston Post Office. Here is the imposing Launceston Town Hall. Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? All these beautiful columns. It's a beautiful little spot here in the middle of Launceston, a beautiful waterfall. Whoa. When you do change buses or have to pick up a new bus, make sure you get on the right bus. Let's show you exactly where this transfer point is. It's on the fringe of Launceston CBD at Lower Charles Street near William Street there. One important thing is always the public conveniences. There's one near the St John Street bus interchange there in Launceston, another in Civic Square with quite long hours, and a business hours toilet very close to the bus stop indeed. Off we go from Launceston. Our bus driver of the day gives a splendid introduction to the intercity service to Devonport.
Well, good morning ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome aboard our service through to Devonport today. Only 2 stops along the way, so it's going to be a pretty good trip straight through. There is a toilet at the rear of the coach should you require it. Very easy to use. Just make sure you leave it nice and tidy for the next person. Seats do recline so you can get nice and comfortable, and if you're looking to charge a device, there are USB charging ports in between the 2 seats that you're sitting on, just below the cushion level. For now, once again, welcome aboard, sit back, relax and enjoy the trip.
From Launceston, you keep on the same bus and you travel via the townships of Carrick, Westbury and Deloraine before ending up in Devonport. So this portion of the Grand Journey is quite short. It's only 101 kilometres. Launceston to Devonport takes about 95 minutes. And our first settlement, about 20 kilometres up the road, is Carrick. We then go another 15 kilometres and we get to the township of Westbury. Here we see the famous Westbury cricket ground. It's a bit foggy and yucky to play cricket, but we do see the famous stumps of Westbury. Westbury, like an old English town, it's enchanting and it's just nice to wander about in. You can see the old village green coming up. Oh geez, it's a nice place. Westbury. And then another roughly 18 kilometres up the road we get to Deloraine and we see the mighty Bush Inn, which is now also a brewery. We cross the marvellous Meander River, beautiful in the fog. And another feature there, the Launceston to Devonport freight railway. This was the original railway in Tasmania, which travelled from Launceston to Deloraine. Here you can see the key shopping precinct. There's lots of shops and places to eat. Now we get off the bus and just take some lovely video of the surrounds of the river, and then I'm very lucky because here comes the 705 to Devonport. The back road to Deloraine. Could be somewhere in England with the fog. What a place. and just a little more of the Meander River. I guess folks know that I like to just sit by these rivers and think about life. On the bus, and we can see the top end of town, the ye old British Hotel, which also has a brewery. It takes about 50 minutes to travel between Launceston and Deloraine, and here is the bus pulling into the major bus stop at the visitor centre. So we have a horse, we have a bus shelter, and we have a bus. Bus to Devonport here. Back on the bus now to Devonport. It's a 50-kilometre journey between Deloraine and Devonport. Just reminding people, it's probably a good idea to book on these services to ensure your seat. About 45 minutes to Devonport, and we see the mighty Mersey River on the outskirts of Devonport. I really like the Devonport bus interchange. It's right in the middle of all the great civic structures that are now there. So the furthest stop is stop A, that's the intercity bus stop. Stop B is the Northwest Express bus stop. If you are just stopping in Devonport, it's so handy. Right next to the Novotel Hotel, you simply pull your bags off the bus and into the hotel. It's very much like what you do catching trains in Germany. The next part of our grand journey is the Northwest Express, which runs between Devonport and Burnie. But let's have a look at how to get the bus. Northwest Express services Devonport to Burnie leave from stop B. There's a toilet close by and the library across the road. And transferring from Hobart and Launceston buses is a very short walk. The Northwest Express, leaving stop B in Devonport. Oh, brilliant. The Northwest Express travels between the Novotel and Devonport Pedestrian Mall before heading down to some iconic features where we can see the Northwest Express crossing the spirit of Tasmania there. Let's have a look at the Route 708 in more detail there. Departs Burnie, goes through stops at East and West Ulverstone plus Central Ulverstone, Penguin West, and then to Burnie. Now the statistics, just 50 kilometres, about 53 minutes, a nice quick speed between Devonport and Burnie. The operator is Kinetic. Now off we go. Okay, so we're 10 minutes into our Northwest Express journey. The bus is going at maximum speed. You can see the very fertile farmlands up here with it boosted by the irrigation system. So really, this Northwest Express really feels like a rapid service. But the reality of it is it's a low floor bus, which means you're closer to the ground and it feels faster than this. And here we see Bass Strait. Rattling along here. After about 20 kilometres we arrive at Wongi Lane bus station in central Ulverstone. Now it's a quaint and pleasant place, Ulverstone. Here's the old Furnace Hotel. Not that many old buildings, but certainly lots of facilities, a very livable place. But here we go past the Lighthouse Hotel where we stay at because it's so close to the bus stops. Okay, we're crossing the Leven River just outside Ulverstone. It's such a nice place. Now, we go down towards the next settlement, 13 kilometres away. It is Penguin. We're going down Preservation Drive. It's a bit like a Big Dipper. We get to Penguin. The stops for Penguin are at Penguin West, so it's about a 800, 900 metre walk into Penguin. But Penguin's certainly worthwhile going to. You can see the township in the distance there. It is a heavenly place. I am on the deck of the Penguin Beer Co. and I look across Bass Strait and I just wonder, is there anything lovelier than Tasmania on a beautiful sunny day? The Express is all about going along the Bass Strait and really enjoying. What a view from the Tasman Limited, eh? They've got a pretty good run here from the Northwest Express bus service. And there you can see the rail line, which nowadays only carries freight. 17 kilometres from Penguin, we hit Burnie, which is a port city. It's a great compact city. I really enjoy visiting it. It's got lots of different shops and facilities. I find it so easy to get to. It's quite a compressed city centre. But one of the really nice things about Burnie is its bus station. It's right in the middle. It looks really nice. It fits in with everything else. And there's lots of bus services from here to the west coast, to the northwest, further on to Stanley and Smith. Now, one thing you've got to watch out for is we're leaving from Stop C, and there's other buses that use that. They go to Wynyard, and that won't help. So here's a map of central Burnie, and you've got to get to Stop C. All the buses leave from that area. Now, I've got a paper ticket there, but you don't need it. You just have to get on the bus, chat to your driver. Off we go. We drive through Catley Street, turn right into Wilson. And on board the bus, we get an alternative view. Yeah, I go past one of my favourite cafes here in the corner, the Eurocaf. And Burnie, certainly a place to have a good look around. Burnie is the last city before we head towards the western parts of Tasmania. Anyway, we head off now and we go past the Burnie City Council chambers. Yeah, no, they're good people. To get out of Burnie, we have to hit the famous Bass Highway, and yeah, we've got a hint of things to come. And now I show the very back blocks of Burnie. But very soon we reach Bass Strait. Yeah, this is a coastal bus route. It's very scenic, it's very good. Okay, let's have a look at the route on the map. We depart from Burnie. Our first major stopping place is Wynyard, almost a satellite suburb. Boat Harbour, Rocky Cape, finally to Stanley. At Stanley, the bus then goes onward to Smithton, but we get off at Stanley. Those vital route stats which everyone loves. 79 kilometres it takes to go from Burnie to Stanley. Travel time is about 70 minutes at average speed of 68 kilometres. I've done other YouTubes on how to get to Burnie, so you can have a look at those if you need to come from Hobart, say, for example. Well, this is Cooey, which is a suburb of Burnie, but you get these beautiful views. Now, Wynyard is the town, and we go past the yacht club there. Wynyard's got a lovely foreshore. Now, we called the bus when there was no students from Helier College on it, so the bus actually was getting ahead of time, and every now and then stopped so it would have enough wouldn't get to the destinations too early. Look at the rich agricultural fields on this bus route. We go to a place called Boat Harbour. It's got a really nice cafe, which we had breakfast at on our way back. Gee, that was a fantastic place, such friendly service. The next place is Rocky Cape, and all these places, the bus stops, make sure it's on time, and there's usually a student or two who get on and off the services. Now, we've just gone past a place called Detention River, and look at it there. I've taken a still shot there so you can have a better look at it. On we go. Here is Crayfish Creek, and then we approach Port Latter. But very soon we see the Nut. Yes, that ripple of excitement is on the bus. First views of the Nut, and we get closer to the Nut. The Nut at Stanley, a major icon in Tasmania, and everyone on the bus is talking about the views. We finally hit the Stanley itself, and I know that I'd have to get off the bus very soon indeed. Thank you very much, that was awesome. Thank you.
No worries.
Cheers. See ya. Now here's an alternative view of myself arriving off the bus. It was a very pleasant bus trip. Quite a few people got off, and yeah, look, I loved it. Now there's no bus stop marked very clearly there. Here goes the bus, off to Smithton. The bus now, after quickly whipping around Stanley without stopping. Off to Smithton. We will conclude this YouTube with some highlights of Stanley. But let's tell you exactly which buses to get. Well, you have to get the 6 a.m. service route 700 from Hobart. It arrives in Launceston at 8:40. And there, as I've already mentioned, you quite often can stay on the same bus and it will take you through to Devonport. It leaves at 9 o'clock. Devonport arrival time is 10:35. You can stretch your leg between the two buses too if you want. Now, at Devonport, we get the Northwest Express. Now, the one we've got down is the 11 o'clock, but that goes every hour, so you can spend some more time in Devonport and have a look around. That is a very fast bus. You don't have to book that bus, and you get to Burnie very quickly indeed. Now, the bus to Stanley leaves at 5 minutes to 3, 2:55, and gets to Stanley at about 4:30. So it's a fabulous trip and day. Now, if you want to go the other way, Stanley to Hobart, that's possible Monday to Friday as well. Leaving Stanley at 7:21, you arrive in Burnie. Plenty of time to get the connecting Northwest Express service from Burnie to Devonport. You pick up the 9 o'clock service there. Plenty of time then for a bit of morning tea in Devonport before catching the intercity bus service to Hobart at 11:25. That's when it departs. It gets to Launceston at 1 o'clock. You don't really have that much time for lunch. Again, it's highly likely that it will be the same bus that goes through to Hobart. Just ask your driver. That service then leaves Launceston from the temporary bus stop there in Lower Charles Street at 1:30, and you're into Hobart at 4:20 in the afternoon. Saturdays, Sundays, public holidays, it's different again. I won't show all the detail, just drive everyone nuts. Anyway, we can leave Hobart at 9:30, into Stanley at 5:29 in the evening on all those days. It works well. The connections are all good and it's a nice smooth transition. Now, on Saturdays coming back, that's possible too. You're leaving at 9:21 in the morning, a little bit later. Again, all those connections work as you go through Burnie and Devonport and Launceston, and eventually you arrive in Hobart at about 8:15. Now, Sundays and public holidays. Please be aware you cannot get back to Hobart in one day if that's what you want to do. You've got to leave Stanley at 6 minutes past 4, but really you then got to spend a night in Devonport. The bus gets there a bit after 7 p.m. You've got to spend a night in Devonport, and eventually you do get back to Hobart the following day, about 12:30 back to Hobart. Okay, now bookings, you must really book on every leg except the route 708 Burnie to Devonport, not required. You have to pay 4 separate fares. There's no through fare, and when you add up all the fares, it's adult fare at the moment is $38.80 because we've got this half price sale going on until the end of June 2025. Concession fare is half that. Child student fare is only $4. You can pay cash on the bus. They actually do have FPOS as well, but it's best to book and pay prior where you can. First volume of our Grand Tasmanian bus journeys all the way from Hobart to Stanley. Now, before we go, we're going to show some highlights of Stanley. They're edited versions to what I've shown previously. Stanley Hotel, built in 1847. The Stanley Hotel, we're on the extreme left-hand side of the balcony. Historic Stanley. Our room at the Stanley Hotel is a room with a view, or a balcony with a view. The main street here. And yes, you've got it. It's the Nut. The Nut really dominates Stanley, and it's like a lost world up there. It's fantastic. But Stanley itself's a marvellous village. Now we're close up to the mighty Nut. It's pretty awesome. And there's the chairlift. It's not operating at the moment. And you can really see from those the chairlift experience Wow, it's really great. The views are unparalleled. It's a really nice run. And there I am previously on the top there, wandering around this lovely lost world. Now make sure you don't fall off the edges. That wouldn't be the best thing to do, but yeah, you got a really good view of the port of Stanley. Now, in the rain, we went to Joseph Lyons's cottage that he was born in. Now, who is Joseph Lyons? You might say, well, Joe Lyons was Tasmanian Prime Minister. The little house he lived in was built in 1916, and Joe Lyons was Australia's Prime Minister between 1932 and 1939. A very important Tasmanian.
And St Paul's. And the fabulous Slough Plough Inn with the nut in the background. The Highfield Heritage Site here, Stanley, just a short walk from the bus stop.
What a lovely place. So many different buildings.
A bit like something out of Wuthering Heights. Almost expect to see Kate Bush leaping out at you somewhere.
We were amazed by how beautifully this house had been developed and kept. Here is the sort of a lovely sitting areas. The Highfield house built in 1835, so that's nearly 200 years old. It also had a very old kitchen, which we found very interesting. And just to the left as we went out, you could see the chapel. Yes, they had their own chapel. Thanks for watching, everyone, and look out for further editions of Tasmanian Bus Journeys.